Welcome back to Hardball. Just as San Francisco's Board of Supervisors voted to give municipal ID cards to all city residents the other day, the question is, legal or not, should New York Governor Eliot Spitzer have done what he did? He apparently had intended to give driver's licenses to people in the country illegally and did a 180 on that today, followed by a 180 by Hillary Clinton. Let me go to Pat Buchanan and Rachel Maddow. And first of all, Rachel, you first. What do you make of Hillary Clinton's decision to do a U-turn here?
Well, Hillary Clinton's decision, the thing that struck me strange about it is that if she is president of the United States, she's not going to have the opportunity to decide who gets a driver's license or not. That's a state's issue. So her saying that as president she'd take this bold stand on it, I thought struck a weird note.
Why do you think she took it?
I think she took it because I think she's realized this is a hot, emotive issue right now. Spitzer having to take this back off the table, it isn't going to make illegal immigration any less of a problem in this country. It isn't going to improve anything, but it is a victory for those who would say that anybody who wants to do anything kind of rational and productive on the issue of immigration is going to be shouted down because there's so much heat on the issue.
Pat Buchanan, your view of Hillary Clinton's U-turn today. She not only, as Rachel pointed out, she not only went along with the Spitzer U-turn, saying he's not going to do this, give people who are here in the country illegally ID cards, basically. She said, I will not support driver's licenses for documented people as president.
Well, of course. Look, she's not going to be president of the United States if she didn't make a U-turn on that, Chris. When you get 70% or more of the people of New York are adamantly against this, I saw your numbers from Iowa. She's not going to be president of the United States if she runs on giving driver's licenses to illegal aliens. It killed John McCain. It drove Spitzer down to 25%. 45% of Republicans in South Carolina want another candidate than Lindsey Graham. This is toxic. This is third world stuff.
What I don't understand, Rachel, is every time I suggest what I think is a reasonable way to deal with this problem of illegal immigration, everybody in the country right now, you're fine. Make them all citizens. I don't care. But starting tomorrow, you have to have a checkable ID card to get in the country, or you don't get in, you don't get a job in this country. Nobody seems to want to do something that will actually work. They either want to have a continued flow of illegal immigrants into the country, or they want to kick 28 million people out of the country, both of which I oppose. Why don't people want to have an ID card? You say you think giving a driver's license to somebody here illegally. Why don't we give real ID to people who are really in the country by right or by a government decision? Why don't we get legitimate ourselves?
Well, you've hit the nail on the head in terms of what the problem is here with moving forward, is that there's hot politics around this issue, and everybody's criticized whenever they do anything that can be construed by the right as amnesty or any sort of kindness toward immigrants. But when it comes to practical policy issues, practical policy matters that will move stuff forward, that stuff gets shouted down, and it's impossible to make progress.
Well, when are the immigrant groups, the Latino groups, the business groups that want cheap labor, the labor unions that want new members, the Democrats and Republicans that want new party members, when are they going to come out for an ID card? You need an ID card to get on an airplane. You need to do banking. You need everything. But they say, no, don't ask people to actually identify themselves. I don't get it. Pat, your thoughts on that?
I don't want a national ID card because I don't trust the government on privacy issues right now.
Well, okay, then you want more illegal immigration then, because that's the effect of it.
No, I don't. No, listen, what New York State is trying to do is they're saying, listen, if you've got people who are here to work illegally and you need to have a Social Security number in order to get a driver's license, then those people who need to drive in order to work, which is why they're here, they will drive illegally.
Why do we ask people to have, don't you need a ticket to get on an airplane? Don't you need money to buy food at a store? Why is this the only country in the world where you don't need anything to come into the country illegally? Because once you're here, people will defend your right to be here. I've never heard of a country like this in the world. There's never been a country like this.
I don't want to live in a country where the first thing you hear anytime anybody official stops you from anything is papers, please. At the same time, I don't want there to be people with no connection to the legal
of the country.
I'm saying if you want to get a job here, shouldn't you have to identify yourself, Rachel? No, wait a minute. I want to stay on this, Pat. Rachel, are you saying you shouldn't have to identify yourself to get a job in America?
I say you shouldn't have to identify yourself in order to do any official government function. In order to get a job in this country right now, you need to submit the paperwork to get paid. That should be the case.
That's a joke.
No, come on. That should be the case. That is the status right now.
Okay, that's why everybody's here illegally working, because that law is enforced. Pat, your thoughts?
Well, my thoughts are these. Comprehensive reform, what Hillary calls comprehensive reform, is another word for amnesty. She will have to get off that too Chris, also. She's going to have to get off that. And let me say, in addition to that, look, we got an identity card to work. It's a Social Security card. You got to make employers call up the Social Security Administration, and if they can't confirm it in 90 days, get rid of the workers. You crack down on businesses. You secure the borders. You start deporting people based on gang members, scofflaws, felons, and you can solve it in 10 years. That's what the country wants. People who are not there are not going to be in the White House.
But, Pat, what do you do if you're
the Republican Party in which you were once a member does not agree with you?
Let me tell you something. They're all moved to the position of a security fence. They're all for cracking down now. Rudy's run away from sanctuary cities. This will be the cutting issue of the Republicans domestically, and the Democrats are on the wrong side of it with George Bush.
Well, the Republicans are on the wrong side of it because no matter what you say, Pat, you can get a job in this country if you're here illegally, and you know it.
Well, they will listen. They will have to say we're going to crack down on businesses who are hiring illegals, or somebody is going to beat them.
Rachel, I don't think either one of you have a solution to the immigration problem.
I've got a whole book on it, Chris.
No, but if you are the governor of New York State, what do you do with the fact that you've got 1 million illegal immigrants in your state?
Well, you call the U.S. congressman from your state and say, why don't you pass a bill that outlaws illegal immigration?
Sure. You try to get the federal government to do what's right on illegal immigration and getting control of the borders. That's what Eliot Spitzer said today when he took that off the table.
Every time I hear the word border, Rachel, I know nobody's serious. You would cross that border to get a job if you needed it. Sure. You'd find a way to get around that fence.
And
anybody with a brain would. Everybody who says borders is BSing this issue. There's only one way to stop people coming here. Cut off the jobs.
Chris,
let me tell you, Chris, look, if you say we can't secure our borders, that's the end of your country because the whole world knows they can get in now. The president said 6 million have been stopped in his watch alone. If you don't secure the border as well as sending the people back home and removing the magnets, it is the end of your country.
Unless you cut off the jobs, people will come to get them.
You got to do that, too.
There is an elephant in the living room here, which is that illegal immigration has not changed very much over the course of my lifetime. I'm 34 years old. It hasn't changed very much.
In other words, it's not a big issue with you.
No, listen, the politics have changed, but the issue hasn't. And at the state level, let me give you facts. At the state level, what Governor Spitzer has to deal with right now is that he's got about 1 million illegal immigrants in New York State. If they can't drive legally, they will drive illegally. He is proposing a solution that will be safe and that'll be safer for New York State citizens. That's been taken off the table right now because of your demagoguing on this issue.
No, it's not. Let me ask you, Rachel, does a country have a right to decide who enters it?
Absolutely, of course.
Well, why don't they enforce that right?
Why don't they enforce that right? We've never enforced that right effectively in this country. We've never enforced it largely because there's a business incentive for not enforcing it.
And you're laughing. You think it's funny.
No, I'm not laughing at this. This is the reason that we haven't done it. But the difference, the thing that you guys aren't grasping is that this hasn't
don't put
changed.
Me in Pat's category because I want a national ID card.
Let me tell you something. You get the right person in charge in this president of the United States. You can do it the way Ike did it. He sent back 1 million people by sending a general down there saying, get them out of our country. And that's what they did. You get the right man in the White House. It can be done, Chris. What is missing is a lack of will, not ideas.
Pat, when you talk to business groups, do the business people you talk to agree with you about putting serious penalties on people who hire people illegally?
No, one of the guys said, you're going to put me in jail. And I said, that's right if you hire illegals. That is right.
Well, that cuts down on the lecture fees, I think, if you try to give a speech to a bunch of guys that know they're going to the can. Well, if you get your way.
You've already got your lecture fee, Chris, and then you tell them.
The reason the politics on this, the reason the politics changed on this in the last few years is that the Republican Party decided that they didn't have much to offer by way of a domestic agenda, stuff like schools and health care and stuff like that. So they came up with a political plan to say, let's start blaming illegal
people in the country illegally. That's
why. Let's blame the Mexicans.
You know what?
Listen, Rachel,
this is the hottest issue on the Republican side, and it's growing as the hottest issue on the Democratic side. Almost 60% of the Democrats in Iowa disagree with you, Rachel. They think this is a serious problem, illegal immigration. They don't think it's just something that's about the same as it's always been. And they're increasingly angry about this, Rachel.
Let me talk for a second, Rachel.
Okay, Pat, first for 30 seconds.
Let me talk for a second. Rachel, we didn't invent this issue. The Republicans plugged in to an electric cord that is running all over this country. They didn't create it. It is out there. They are now exploiting it and seizing it. You're right. But it is out there in Middle American, and Spitzer found out, and McCain found out, and your lady found out, Mrs. Clinton.
My lady.
Rachel, your thoughts?
I will just say that 5 years ago there was not heat on this issue, not because this issue was any different, but because there was no strategy to uncork this xenophobic bottle bottle and let this genie out and let it drive Republican politics.
Okay.
You can uncork this bottle whenever you want, and Americans will run with it every time. It doesn't mean that it's right.
It doesn't mean that it's cold either. It's a hot issue.
Rachel.
It's going to get hotter, and I don't think either party has the guts to take it on. Anyway, thank you, Pat. Thank you, Rachel.